Welcome to Wisdom Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2888 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. The title for today's Wisdom Trek is The Cosmic Land Transfer, Inheritance, Remembrance, and the God of Heaven. In our previous episode on this grand historical expedition, we marched through the dramatic midsection of the Great Hallel, Psalm 136, verses 10 through 16. We stood alongside the liberated community of Israel as they witnessed the devastating courtroom judgment executed against the Egyptian pantheon. We watched the divine warrior split the primordial chaos waters of the Red Sea, carving a dry, safe highway right through the abyss, and effortlessly shaking off the arrogant, imperial army of Pharaoh, like an annoying insect on his sleeve. We closed our trek by following our heavenly shepherd into the terrifying, uncreated wilderness wasteland, discovering that His Hesed, his fierce, unyielding, and covenant-keeping faithful love is uniquely durable enough to sustain us through our most parched, desperate chapters. Today, we have arrived at the magnificent, soaring crescendo of this ultimate liturgical masterpiece. We are completing our journey through Psalm 136 by exploring verses 17 through 26 in the New Living Translation. The antiphonal chant of the temple choir continues to ring out across the stone courts of Jerusalem, with the massive congregation roaring back the rhythmic drumbeat of faith after every single line. The historical narrative now shifts from the survival of the wilderness to the violent, supernatural conquest of the Promised Land. The psalmist pulls back the cosmic curtain to show us that our ultimate inheritance was secured by a God who systematically dismantles giant rebel kings, remembers us in our deepest human weakness, and universally sustains every living thing from his heavenly throne room. Let us step onto the final ridge of this specific trail, adjust our cosmic lenses, and listen to the final chords of the Great Hallel. The first segment is Dismantling the Giant Proxies of the Underworld Stronghold. Psalm 136, verses 17, 18, 19, and 20. Give thanks to him who struck down mighty kings. His faithful love endures forever. He slaughtered powerful kings. His faithful love endures forever. Sihon, king of the Amorites. His faithful love endures forever. Og, king of Bashan. His faithful love endures forever. The final historical movement of the psalm opens with a thunderous dual celebration of military and cosmic triumph. Give thanks to him who struck down mighty kings. He slaughtered powerful kings. Sihon, king of the Amorites. Og, king of Bashan. To fully unlock the massive, explosive spiritual warfare embedded in these specific names, we must integrate the profound insights of the ancient Israelite Divine Council worldview as masterfully taught by Dr. Michael S. Heiser. To a modern reader, the mention of Sihon and Og can feel like a repetitive, boring footnote from an ancient Near Eastern border dispute. We might wonder why a psalm focused on the eternal love of God would spend so much time naming dead kings, but to the ancient Israelite pilgrim marching up Mount Zion, these names were filled with holy terror and monumental cosmic victory. These were not ordinary human rulers. They were the terrifying giant gatekeepers of the cosmic rebellion. We must look back to the foundational blueprint of cosmic geography recorded in Deuteronomy chapter 32. When the Most High disinherited the 70 nations at the Tower of Babel due to their rebellion, he placed them under the jurisdiction of lesser spiritual beings, the sons of God, the territorial Elohim. These principalities subsequently mutinied, demanding worship for themselves, and establishing dark spiritual strongholds across the earth. But the most concentrated, defiant center of this rebellion was located in the north, in the region of Bashan, at the foot of Mount Hermon, the exact geographic site where the rebel watchers originally descended to stage their coup against the Almighty. Sihon, the king of the Amorites, and Og, the king of Bashan, ruled over this demonic geography. According to the historical records of Moses, Og was a literal remnant of the giant Rephaim, possessing an iron bedstead that was over 13 feet long. In the ancient mindset, the Rephaim were the physical and spiritual anomalies produced by the corruption of the Watchers, the Nephilim lineages designed by the rebel gods to contaminate humanity, and permanently block the chosen family of Yahweh from ever establishing the kingdom of God on earth. Bashan was poetically recognized as the place of the serpent and the literal gate of the underworld. When the psalmist declares that Yahweh struck down mighty kings and slaughtered powerful kings, he is describing a spectacular cosmic cleansing of the geography. The divine warrior marched directly into the teeth of the underworld stronghold, confronted the most monstrous, intimidating avatars of the rebel council, and completely obliterated them. He proved that giant physical stature, demonic lineages, and ancient spiritual fortresses are absolutely nothing but chaff before the wind when the high king of the cosmos extends his hand. And why did he slaughter these terrifying giants? The congregation roars the answer after every name. His faithful love endures forever. Love for the covenant family required the violent, total eradication of the supernatural forces that sought to destroy them. The second segment is the cosmic land transfer and the realignment of geography. Psalm 136, verses 21 and 22. He gave their land as an inheritance. His faithful love endures forever. A special possession to his servant Israel. His faithful love endures forever. Having executed the giant kings and cleared the spiritual contamination from the landscape, the true king performs a monumental, legal act of property reallocation. He gave their land as an inheritance, a special possession to his servant Israel. This section of the liturgy celebrates the glorious geographic reversal of the Tower of Babel. The Hebrew word used for inheritance here is nachalah, which refers to a permanent, legally binding family allotment that can never be sold or stolen. In the cosmic courtroom, the land of Bashan and the territories of Canaan had been illegally occupied by the rebel Elohim and their corrupt proxies. They had turned the earth into a playground of idolatry, violence, and darkness, claiming that Yahweh had no authority within their boundaries. But Yahweh executed a magnificent, sovereign eviction notice. He took the very land that the giant kings had fortified, completely stripped the rebel gods of their titles, and transferred the property deeds over to his segula, his private, prized, and treasured possession, the family of Israel. The text notes that he handed it over to his servant Israel. This language of servitude is beautiful. It implies that Israel does not own the land as an autonomous empire, but holds it as a sacred trust, acting as the loyal stewards of Yahweh's earthly estate. By turning the land of the giants into an inheritance for Israel, the Creator successfully reestablished a beachhead of Eden right in the middle of a disinherited world. Mount Zion became the centralized command center where heaven and earth intersected, a sacred space where the laws, the justice, and the true cosmic order of the Almighty could safely flourish. When the congregation chants, "His faithful love endures forever," after these verses, they are recognizing that their physical homes, their fields, and their security are the direct, tangible evidence of a love that can redefine the boundaries of the planet to protect the family of God. The third segment is From Cosmic Warfare to Intimate Grace and Universal Provision. Psalm 136, verses 23, 24, and 25. He remembered us in our weakness. His faithful love endures forever. He saved us from our enemies. His faithful love endures forever. He gives food to every living thing. His faithful love endures forever. The grand, epic sweep of the liturgy suddenly shifts its perspective in a breathtaking way. The psalmist has spent the entire song looking at massive, macro realities, the creation of the stars, the division of the seas, and the slaughter of giant kings. But in verse 23, the camera zooms entirely in, capturing the intimate, deeply emotional core of the covenant relationship. He remembered us in our weakness. His faithful love endures forever. He saved us from our enemies. His faithful love endures forever. The Hebrew word for weakness, or low estate, is shiflenu, which refers to a state of being completely crushed, humiliated, marginalized, and brought low. This is a direct look into the mirror of the exile. The Israelites knew what it felt like to be weak. They were a small, physically unimposing nation, surrounded by massive, predatory empires like Assyria and Babylon. They carried the deep, bloody furrows of oppression across their backs. The rebel spiritual principalities constantly mocked them, attempting to argue that their weakness was proof that Yahweh had forgotten them, or that the true king was unable to protect his allotment. But the psalmist declares a beautiful, saving truth, the High King of the Celestial Council, remembered us. In the biblical narrative, when God remembers, it doesn't mean he suddenly recalls a forgotten thought. It means he moves into active, decisive intervention on behalf of his covenant partner. He looks past the roaring arrogance of the great empires, focuses his eyes upon the quiet suffering of his broken servants, and he steps down from the throne room to execute a rescue mission. He saved us from our enemies, proving that our human weakness is never a barrier to his supernatural power. His Hesed is a love that prioritizes the vulnerable, completely overriding the legal accusations of the adversary. Then in verse 25, the psalmist explores the boundaries of this grace, moving from national salvation to universal cosmic ecology. He gives food to every living thing. His faithful love endures forever. This is a magnificent theological synthesis. The very same God who wields the lightning, parts the Red Sea, and slaughters the giant Rephaim kings is the very same God who gently bends down every single morning to feed the birds of the air, the beasts of the field, and the microorganisms of the soil. He provides lechem nourishment to all flesh. This is a direct polemical strike against the pagan economies. The surrounding nations believed that they had to work frantically from early morning until late at night, offering expensive sacrifices to appease their capricious fertility gods, just to ensure the crops would grow. But the psalmist reveals that the entire matrix of global creation is entirely sustained by the effortless, generous management of Yahweh. He is the ultimate provider. He feeds his entire planetary household, not because they have earned it, but simply because his loyal Hesed is the ultimate, life-giving environment that animates all of biology. The fourth segment is the final ascent to the God of heaven. Psalm 136, verse 26. Give thanks to the God of heaven. His faithful love endures forever. The entire epic, 26-verse masterpiece reaches its final, definitive, and roaring punctuation mark. Give thanks to the God of heaven. His faithful love endures forever. The psalmist concludes the Great Hallel by addressing Yahweh with a magnificent crowning title, El Hashemayim, the God of Heaven. This title is loaded with absolute cosmic dominance. Throughout the ancient Near East, the pagan nations bragged about their localized deities, claiming that their gods held authority over specific rivers, specific valleys, or specific cities. But the priests of Israel lift their eyes far above the earthly horizon, bypassing all the middle management principalities, and they anchor their final praise to the ultimate, uncreated source of reality. The God of heaven is the absolute commander of the heavenly host, the supreme ruler of the divine council, who sits enthroned far above the highest dimensions of space and time. From that celestial summit, his vision is total, his authority is seamless, and his decrees are unshakable. The rebel principalities are completely trapped within the lower, dark boundaries of their impending judgment, but Yahweh rules the entire matrix with effortless, absolute clarity. And the final, thunderous shout of the congregation seals the entire psalm with the ultimate guarantee: his faithful love endures forever. The Great Hallel closes exactly how it began, leaving the pilgrims with the rock-solid assurance that the eternal, unyielding Hesed of the God of heaven is the final, defining word over human history and the human soul. The fifth segment is mapping the rhythm of Hesed onto our modern trek. Psalm 136, verses 17 through 26, provides us with a magnificent, unbreakable shield for our minds as we navigate the unique spiritual battles of our daily lives. It teaches us that our lives are firmly anchored to a linear, carefully managed history that has already been completely won by our King. The giant obstacles that loom large in your path, the Sihons and Ogs of anxiety, depression, broken relationships, or systemic cultural pressure are nothing more than hollow illusions before the face of the Almighty. The divine warrior has a flawless track record of crushing giants, and he has already legally evicted the powers of darkness from your inheritance. As you walk your trek today, internalize the beautiful, responsive rhythm of the Great Hallel. Train your soul to speak the truth of Hesed over every single piece of data your eyes perceive. When the culture around you brags about its wealth and its secular power, remind yourself that your Lord is the God of gods and the Lord of lords. When you look at your own human weakness, or feel brought low by the trials of this life, rest securely in the truth that your Father remembers you in your lowest state. He sees your suffering, He has compassion on your soul, and He has already executed an overwhelming cosmic buyout to set you free from the custody of the enemy. Look at the natural world around you and see the daily provision of food and breath as a direct, personal love letter from the Creator. You are not a victim of blind fate or random accidents. You are the private, prized treasure of the Sovereign Commander. Lift your head high, shake off the spiritual lethargy of this age, and let your life become a continuous, roaring echo of the true assembly. Walk forward with the bold, resilient, and joyful stride of a soul that is completely wrapped in the enduring, eternal, and unshakable love of the God of heaven. If you found this podcast insightful, please subscribe and leave us a review. Then encourage your friends and family to join us and come along tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, Creating a Legacy. As we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day every day. Join me next time for more daily wisdom.